Hey guys, what's up? Tom here. I'm gonna tell you today about how to put in a well holding tank or a cistern. As you can tell, I got skis behind me and a guitar, and I'm a graphic artist, so I've never done anything like this before. I built my house, but never done anything quite like this. But I was searching YouTube, and I was trying to find a video on how to put this in. So you have a well, you want to have a holding tank, a big tank, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 gallon, whatever it is, to store your water in. And I searched for hours one night and I couldn't find anything on YouTube. And so then a week later, I was like, I'll search again. Nothing. Another night, nothing. I mean, I probably 4 or 5 hours in on this. That was, there's nothing. I don't know. And I kind of figured out why, because it is really hard to do. But I will walk you through it. I mean, I busted a backhoe window. I cut through my power line, and I'll show you pictures of all that. But and it had nothing to do with drinking beer. I'm only doing that now. This is a Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest. All right, so our well, we live up on a mountain in Idaho, and we were only getting when we drilled it, it was 375 feet deep, and we only got 3.5 gallons a minute. So to give you an idea of that, a hose bib on full would be like running just full on running 7 gallons a minute. So that would run us out of water. I mean, there's a static level of the well when you have like a 6-inch well pipe or something like that, or 8-inch. I mean, there's a certain amount of water that lives in there, but ultimately, you use that up, and then the well just can't keep up with it anymore. So hose bib 7, sprinkler, the those kind, just a single regular sprinkler, 3.5 gallons a minute. If you have an irrigation system, an in-ground sprinkler, I don't know. I mean, it's however you have it set up. It could be up to 7. So we this spring we had some problem with our real lack of water, and so our pipes were clogged up with rust and stuff like that. And they put a new pump in that was part of the deal because they had to pull it anyway. And that's $700-800, and then it turns out we were only getting 1.5 gallons a minute, or 1.75 down to 1.5, kind of like that kind of thing. So we figured it was time to we need to put in a holding tank. So here's the concept. Here's how this works. Is your well likes to run. So the well wants to run. There's this curve that they'll draw with the well, when you're getting with well pumps, and it'll show that if it's on the high end, it's not really good. It's almost burning it out. When it's on the low end, it's kicking on and off and doesn't like it. It just wants to stay in the middle. It wants to stay happy, So it's preferable for a well pump to fill a tank for several hours, and versus it kicking on and off like we're doing right now. So we have a pressure tank that just says, someone's taking a shower. Oh, we need more water. Well, the well kicks on, and that's not good. So we want to be able to all night just be filling up this tank and then use it during the day or whatever, So it just gives you a way bigger store when you can pull water from the tank as needed instead of from the well as needed, if that makes sense. I'll show you some diagrams of that. We'll get into the whole mechanics of this. I'll give you every last detail, everything I did down to the prices. But, just as this is a quick overview. So we're doing a 2,000 gallon tank. And to give you an idea, at our rate, at that 1.5 or 1.75 gallons a minute, it takes 24 hours to fill a 2,000 gallon tank. So some people were like, let's put in, you should put in 3,000, 4,000. And I mean, the price, not quite doubles, but close, with the concrete and all that. And then there's this huge hole, bigger space, more to dig. So to give you an idea, it's concrete. It's made of concrete. It's 7 feet wide by 12 feet long, and it's 4.5 feet high. So, 7 by 12, that's like a small bedroom. And that cost $2,800 for the concrete for the tank. And that includes the delivery and all that. Now there's above ground and below ground, and there's different types of tanks. So there's plastic and concrete. Plastic tank is, those are those dome ones you see, and you sometimes you see them sitting outside like the home, Home Depot or supply store or something, or farm supply. And those things, I mean, you can get big ones, but they're more breakable. They can crack. They can wear down over years. They can, if you live in a cold climate like we do, they can the water will freeze more. They're not as good for burial. So if you're doing it above ground, you're in a warm climate, you can do that. It just looks ugly. There you have pipes coming out of it, all this kind of stuff. We did the concrete bunker kind of thing. I mean, the sucker's huge. They had a crane come bring it in. I'll show you the pictures. And we just kind of figured, let's just do it. Let's just do it right. We're doing it. Let's do it. Okay, so kind of an overview of this. The way we're doing it now, and I'll call it the old way because we're going to switch from this, is the well pump. So 375 feet down, it pushes water up the pipe to the house into a pressure tank. And so a pressure tank is one of those blue tanks you see in people's basements. Sometimes you can have it out by your wellhead outdoors, again, warmer climate, or you put it in a little house with a heater or something like that, a little well house. And they're about the size of a hot water heater or a little bigger, and they're usually blue. And what that does is that regulates the pressure of the water throughout your whole house, so it's always nice and you got water pressure, and it's 40-60 is pretty typical. You can do 50-70, but your pipes will burst if you start doing stuff beyond that. I mean, if you get over 100 psi, you're gonna start breaking pipes and stuff like that. 40-60, what that is so someone takes a shower, the pressure goes down to 40. There's a little gauge and there's a pressure switch on there in your tank, and it says, hey, to a control box, and it tells the well pump to kick back on and supply with more water, to pump more water up the pipe through the ground to the pressure tank. Now, I always thought what a pressure tank was, I always thought it was some like electrical thing, like a pressure washer that has like a motor running in it, and it's creating the pressure. It's not actually creating the pressure, it's just regulating the pressure. So it's got a big bladder in it, and that pushes the water against it, and it just makes it a really consistent, nice pressure. There still has to be something that pushes the water into the tank and pushes it against that bladder, to force against that bladder, and that has to be your well pump. So that's why well pumps are like mega power, and they're $800. So the new way we're doing it is like what I just said. The well pump is going to push the water up, and it's just going to basically just like dribble it into a tank at 1.5 gallons a minute, just like a hose on half or on quarter, And then from there, we have this big tank. Something needs to push the water from the tank to the house and push it all the way up to the second floor of the house for showers and stuff like that. Now, in the city, you have a big water tower above ground or up on a hill or something like that. And that is a ton of static pressure that just regulates the whole city. And you could do that if you live on a hill or you have a water tower or something like that. Ours is below ground, and it is a little above the basement, and all our other stuff's in the basement. So in theory, if our power goes out, we could turn on a sink in the basement, and it should still just at least fill up from the tank. But we really need something to push it against that pressure tank to pressurize the whole house. So we need a second pump. So you need to put a pump in your big holding tank that's filled with water, or you can put it in your basement, and that'll pull the water. So you can have one to push. You can have a pushing pump, or you can have a pulling pump that lives in your basement, and it pulls the water from your tank and it like sucks it out. So that's the one we did. We did the one in the basement. It doesn't go bad as fast because we have a lot of rust, and so it's basically sitting out of water all the time. It's nice and dry. You can replace it easy. It's a little more expensive, and actually, no, I'm sorry. It's cheaper. Those were cheaper. The downside of it is it's noisy sitting in your basement, but who cares? It's like our laundry room in our basement. It just has a little whirring sound. So not a big deal. Okay, I'll walk you through what we have going on here. So our wellhead is here, and a line going into the house. We luckily, I guess it's just kind of convenient that our KEC, it's our local power company, our transformer and our meter both sit right here too. So we have our main coming in, and we use the same basically the same trench, but we did them above and below. So I got to the power line first, and then we got the pipe, and then there's another little electrical line, just a smaller line that's coming from here. And what that does is that tells the pump to turn on and off. So the power comes into the house, and power kicks back here to tell the water to come in, and it goes, so basically right to left to right on power, left again in the water. Now we're putting in the holding tank right about here. It's kind of nice. It's a little bit uphill. So we have some gravity feed. So the deal is you have to have, we're going to need an extra pump kind of thing to make this work. You can't just gravity feed unless you're, way up on a hill or a water tower. I mean, you have to have some height, like way up high, kind of thing. So here's what we have going on. Service panel, we got our water pressure tank. That's what regulates the pressure in the whole house, 40, 60. When pressure, you turn on a shower or something, drops below 40, it says, hey, we need more pressure, and sends that signal back right here, that lower one, and it says it needs more water. And then we have some random electrical boxes on the walls, and I'm going to get into the exact all specifics of this a little later. Okay, so taking the house out of the equation here, this is basically house is this left side, and this is the well here. It's just simplifying this whole thing. What water pressure gauge tells the well pump to turn on when it gets below 40 psi, off when it gets above 60. Okay, so that's the pressure switch. I said gauge here. That's a switch. Pressure switch, 40, 60. And that is attached to the pressure tank. So we got this pressure tank in the house, and then it sends it onto the house. So basically what happens is the main power comes in. It comes to your, people call it a fuse box. It's a service panel, and then it goes through the wall to a pump control box. And then there's a, we call it breaking a leg. You take your black wire, and just like in a light switch, your white stays tied together, and your white just continues on, and the black wire breaks, and it's just a single leg that goes through, and it makes like a switch. So this just tells it here. It says, yeah, click on or off, and then it goes into the pump control box, which sends power all the way to the well pump down in the bottom of the pump, and it pushes the water, and it pushes against this pressure tank, and it pressurizes for the whole house. Okay. So same diagram, but now I'm putting in what we're going to be adding here. So this is our big concrete tank that we're putting underground and filled with water. And what we're going to be doing in here instead is we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. So remember, the main power comes in, and it goes to the pump control box. Now, instead of before up here, that pressure tank switched it, we're going to run a line all the way to the tank outside. So I had to trench a line just above our existing trench, just very carefully. And that goes out to the junction box, and that signal basically goes out to that float. So that float, when it's down, it says when it goes too far down and it tips. So basically it's kind of like, if you enlarge this, it's kind of like when it goes like that, and I'll show you a video on that, or that, on, off. It's got a mechanical little ball in there that basically just connects to metal ball, and it connects it, makes that connection. It's a rocker switch, So when it's up, it says, we're good. Off. When it's down, it says, hey, we need more water, and it sends that signal back and forth, right? And then that sends the signal to the pump to go push water into the tank. Now, what tells the house when it needs more water? Usually that's the pressure switch on the pressure tank that did that before. But the tank now, I guess we could still use that, but there's a pressure switch that is attached to the jet pump that we're buying. And the jet pump pressure switch says, hey, we're low on water, we're down to 40. Let's kick in, and a jet pump sucks the water. So you can have a submersible pump that pushes, or you can have a jet pump inside the house that pulls, right? So we're going to do that. So it's going to create suction, and it's going to pull the water, and it's going to push it against the pressure tank. Now, I always thought, until I started this project, that the pressure tank itself had some sort of like a compressor in it or something that squished the water. It doesn't. It just regulates the pressure, is all it does. It keeps it consistent. It's basically just a holding unit. So it's almost like a tank sitting way up high on a hill or a water tower. It just pushes a bunch of pressure. Something has to have enough power to push against it. So in our case, in our old one here, that was our pump. Our pump pushes all the way from outside against there. It's a 1 horsepower, 1.5 horse pump. And we don't, now in this system, we don't even need that much. All we need to do is just get it up out of the ground and just dribble it into this tank, a gallon and a half a minute. So we put an oversized pump in. We just did it last spring. Kind of didn't need it. But before, You know, it had to push all the way underground, whatever, 60 feet or something, against this pressure, or against this water pressure tank, make all that pressure to push all the way up in a house. And that's the pump doing that. But you can't just, when you turn on the shower, the pump says, hey, I'm gonna push that water all the way to the shower. You need some sort of regulation. So that's what the pressure tank does. What we're doing instead here is we're going to pull it from the tank. So our wiring just needs to be a little different. So when it says, hey, we need more water in the house, it says jet pump go on. When it says, hey, we need more water in the tank, then we need the pump to go on. Okay. So I have the notes here. You can read that, and basically saying the same thing that I'm saying here. Okay, so here's the next part. So we have to have a contactor. A contactor steps down the amps and converts most of it to volts, because high amps would burn out the float switch. It's not made for that. The float switch isn't made for that. This thing over here, or then the junction box, we'd be sending all our, you know, the basically the amps that are going to this pump. We'd be sending that, if we broke just the leg, we'd be sending that high power all the way into this junction box, all the way into this wire, all the way into this float. And you just want low voltage. All it needs to do is just have a tiny bit of little signal, because we're not running a big pump like this pump or this jet pump or anything. It's just a little float. So we just need to tell it to turn on and off. So contactors are really, really common in like cars and stuff like that, you know. And I went and bought one, and I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this. And I bought one, and I'm going to return it because it turns out I was talking to Crown United pump, and they said, oh yeah, you already have a contactor in there, because if we go back here on this page, right here, we are sending a signal to the water pressure tank switch. And he's like, yeah, no pressure tank can handle, it's the same thing. You know, you need to step that down. He goes, so we already have one in there, and it's suitable for your float. So it shows it here, but basically it's going to be exactly as I show it here, but just know that there's a contactor in there, and that is something important that you do. So I'm gonna show you how that kind of really basically how that's all wired. A contactor it connects on the left, two wires together. It passes through. So here's your hot and your neutral. You know, your positive, negative, or whatever you want to call it. It passes through, but this leg here jumps, comes back, and then it goes to the pump. One thing we do have to do that I didn't tell you is we have to, from the service panel, I do need to run a new wire to the jet pump, and that should be like a um, 12-2 or 10-2. So the lower, in wiring, the lower number is bigger, fatter wire. 14-2 is what's running through your house just to go to outlets. You know, run a jet pump. 12-2 is fine. I think I'm running 10-2 from the service panel, and I'm running out of room in my service panel, so I have to double some of those up with slim line breakers. But I'm going to run it through the wall and run it to the jet pump and get that figured out. So that's that, and I think that's everything on this part. What is that?
Mountain Dew, best soda in the world. I am just getting that pissed.
Okay, here's my Saturday project. Yeah, baby. Best part is that's broken glass right there. So a $500 backhoe rental just went to $700. Right, here you go. So we got this hole dug, and I dug a little extra right here because the line, the paint markings are all gone, so I had to, now we're estimating a little bit. Oh, there's one marking right there. So I'm gonna hand dig into that line from here, and it's pretty deep. I'll show you, I'm gonna connect to the top of the tank. So I'm gonna connect into the pipe way down low, and then it's gonna basically come up and over kind of to the top of the tank. Then it's gonna come back out the bottom of the tank and connect back in and go that way. So it's gonna go this way, up, over, from the bottom of the tank in and out. So I have that pressure downward because that pipe sits so low that I'm thinking I can connect it up here and it'll work. And then I've, can't really see it too well, but right up there, a trench into the house, which I'm not going to worry about. It's just the electric line for the floats. So I'm just going to put it in conduit and just put it about a foot down. Probably supposed to be, I think you're supposed to be 2 feet down. I'm going to put it a foot. I've done everything in my backyard that way in conduit, about a foot down. Never had a problem. Just kind of routing it in areas where we don't normally dig. And there we go. Of course, it's raining. It's always raining every day. Anytime I rent a backhoe, it rains. So that's how it goes. Okay, so here I am. I'm in the pit. We put 4 inches, I think we're a little short, 4 inches of gravel down. I have to smooth it around. And that's so that the tank doesn't crack when it's filled with water. All of a sudden you hit, you know, if it's sitting on something like that or this stuff, it's just gonna, it can crack. So, pea gravel, it's like, I did a yard, 40 bucks a yard or so. It's like 40 bucks a yard. So in this hole, so here's our electrical, and then down below that, they told me that below that, see, remember this is where I broke it. Below that would be the well pump, or the well pipe. Well, I found the electrical. It's like flat. So I knew that the pipe was nearby. So I started digging down, and I got into all this hard rock. So I had to rent one of these anyway to get in a hole through the concrete in the house. So I used this bit, and it'll dig real easy, real quick. That was like 70 bucks for the day, for the weekend. And I needed it anyway, so I was down in this hard stuff. And here, I'll show you. So it's like that. But once I found out, another one of those things I've never found on YouTube that explain this. Back in there, that's softer stuff. See how it gets hard right there? Right up here is all soft. Well, check that out. Look what I just found. I mean, I found it before, but it covered up. So there's our pipe. So that is, oh, did that. Okay, no biggie. So, like, there's my hand. So, a hand and a half, you know, 9 inches to the side of it, which is kind of weird. So looking straight down on this is exactly straight down. This is here. This sucker's like all the way over there, and then all the way over there is like, I mean, it's easily a foot and a half apart. They really went wide. They had kind of told me United Pump, I'm up in Idaho, United Pump in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, had said that they bury it directly below the electrical. And maybe these got pulled like back this way, you know, when I pulled them. So maybe this is supposed to be farther, you know, back that way. Maybe that's the case, that this right here is supposed to be sitting more like straight up from there, you know, kind of thing. But anyway, so there it is. So I'm going to open that up and just get a nice big space in here so we can tap into that, because we're going to cut. It's coming from the well this way to the house. So we need to cut to there, out, to get to the holding tank. And then we're going to go from the holding tank right back in. I mean, they can basically just overlap. I'm just going to cut one slit and just pull one up and one down and just do an L that sit right above and below each other, in and out. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. And the one that comes out, this sits at the, I mean, it's actually perfect. I didn't mean to do this, but like we dug this perfect, if you can tell. That's like just at or a hair below the bottom of the tank, which is perfect because then it's going to gravity feed right into the house. And coming from the well this way, I'm going to run it up to the top of the tank, which will sit, you know, like this high into the tank, and then all that static pressure of going down. So I had the tank with a hole at the top, and then they made me a hole at the bottom. They said that's one way you can do it, and then you can have some gravity feed. It's just at least enough to get some water in your basement if your power goes out. Pretty nice. So that's that. One little quick side note, this project is sponsored by Grand Teton Brewing. So I roto-hammered through the basement wall. I forgot to take a video while I was doing it to show, but I'll show you downstairs. So instead of using this tool that I used to dig, you know, we use that bad boy. And a basement wall for a 2-story house is sort of 2 stories. There's 1 story. Basement wall is 12 inches thick, standard. So you had to go through 12 inches about to there, plus there's about almost a 6-inch gap because there's 2x4 a stud wall I put on top of it, plus a little air gap between the concrete plus the drywall. So I mean, I was all the way into like, here's the edge of it. The tool goes to here, so I was up to like there. I mean, it sunk pretty much all the way in. So, okay, that's where I did the hole. I'm going to do it right behind this box because there's still enough room in this box to bring a wire into there, and then I'm going to pull out of the bottom of it. You know, it's got these holes same on the bottom, and I can pull. There's a hole, you know, that big around all the way through. I did an inch and a quarter, so some nice conduit. It's okay if it's roomier. And then I just stuck this piece of rebar and I hammered it in another inch or two, so it's going to stick out of the concrete. And it was crazy when I was roto hammering it. I mean, that bit got completely wedged. I had to undo the bit out of the thing and then just turn it by hand with pliers just to back it out because it got wedged in like gravel rock. I mean, it was easier going through concrete than it was going through once it hit the dirt. It really got stuck. So I'm going to dig down and see if I can find this poking through and find out exactly where it is. So I measured, you know, from the outside we have a 12-inch wall, plus there's almost 6 inches of gap between the drywall. You can see a big space in there. That's where the studs are. We don't have a stud for a ways. I'm between studs here, but so it's like 12 plus 6. Plus this was 16, so it's like 12 plus 6 plus 16 outside from the corner of the house. So back here, this is directly up from the basement. It's nighttime now. I got my, you know, my tank's gonna go up there on Monday, Saturday night, and I'm digging this hole. So, see, from the edge of the house, I did my, you know, there's the outside wall here. So I did my 12-inch concrete wall plus about 6-inch for the stud wall with an air gap, because you don't touch studs to a concrete wall in the basement. You flush them floor to the ceiling and leave a little gap so they don't ever go bad. So about 12 concrete to 6-inch plus that extra 16, and it put me actually right where I was digging, because I remember this is where the power went in. I think I need to go a tiny bit to the left, but it should be like, I'm looking at this thing, it's like about 4 inches over, so it should be right about there. So let's see if we find that rebar and see how close we are here. Okay, so here we are. There's the rebar. Whoops. There's the hole. Just got down to the rebar going through, and we are like, you know, about perfect 2 feet, 26 inches actually. Looks like it's kind of how I measured anyway, but it looks like it's right on 26 down, which is perfect, because that's, you want to be 2 feet for electrical. Sometimes people fudge it, but this is pretty solid. I mean, this is pretty important, so I want to go 2 feet on this. So now I'm gonna keep working tonight because it's hot. It's almost October in North Idaho, and it's hot today. So I'm gonna keep, I backhoed this roughly, and it's kind of mostly caved in and stuff, so I'm just gonna hand trench some stuff through there and work tonight and get that lined out, and then we're good to go. Okay, here we are in the daylight. So there's my hole. I punched that through. It's sticking through the inside a little bit, and there's some conduit. I'm gonna start getting ready to bury that. We'll do that tomorrow, but I have to. I'm hand trenching this, so I dug this with a backhoe, but I didn't really get super deep. I only went like that because technically there is a line farther down below that. So I'm just hand digging down to about 24 inches. Really should be 24 inches, but this is all in conduit, and we know everything runs here, so we just, we're never digging in this spot. It's pretty safe, pretty good there. And so that's what we got going on. It's Sunday today, so I'm gonna chill and relax. Don't want to work on Sunday, except for I do have to smooth this out just a tiny bit, take 5 minutes or something, because the tank's coming in tomorrow, and they're gonna put it in tomorrow. All right, now I'm in my shop, and we're gonna look at some wiring here. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna need. This stuff was expensive. Wiring's gone through the roof. So this is called THHN, and what this is, I should have broken into it, but it's just wire. It's basically the inside of, Romex, which is your regular wiring in your house. So, well, that's not wiring in your house, that's direct burial. So this is Romex. There's 12 and 14, there's different gauges and all that. And this is the stuff that goes in the walls of your house. So, it's got the 3 black, white, and then the ground, so positive, negative, ground. And then there's direct burial, this stuff. Now we could technically run this. I mean, it's actually a little more expensive. It's cheaper to go that way with conduit. Conduit's really cheap. And I just found this out, by the way. I didn't even know this until yesterday. I've always run this stuff. I either put this directly in the ground, or I run it through some conduit. And they were saying it's actually not to code to run Romex, this, because you have 2 coatings. You have this coating, and then you're running it through conduit. And I don't know, for some reason well, that's bad. I would need to cut that off right there. Some reason it can make it short out, but the guy said it's like 1 in just 10,000, like ridiculously low. But there is that chance, so it's not to code. So this stuff is to code, and right into this. Okay, I'm back. I had to get some scissors. So this stuff is to code to run in conduit, which just seems bizarre. But anyway, that's how it is. So this was cheaper. It is just a wire. So this is called THHN. And all I needed was 14 gauge, but I got 12 because it was in the right length, and it's really not that much. It was within a few bucks difference. And it's better anyway, so might as well just go a little. The lower number is thicker wire in wiring. So 12 is thicker wire than 14, and it can handle more, more power, more amp. So in this case, all I'm doing is the white is never going to run through that conduit. It's basically just going to send a signal to the float. So it's like a light switch, you have you got like 2 whites. I can't do this with my fingers and hold the phone. Can I do this? Nope, can't. All right, so it's like in a regular outlet box, in a light switch, you have a white and a black coming in, wire in one side, and then you have a white and a black coming in the other side. You just tie those 2 whites together, and they just bridge right across through your outlet box, and then you attach the black wire to one of the bolts of your, one of the little screws of your light switch, and then the other black to the other one, and it just breaks that black circuit. So your black is your hot, your power, and that's all we're doing here. We're just going to run 2 blacks up to that float, and that float, when it goes down, it's on because it needs to fill back up, and then when it gets too high and it goes tink, and there's like a little roller ball in there. I'll show them to you later. It'll turn off, and it'll send the signal. It'll break it, and then there's no power going through this wire. So all we need is 2 wires. We don't need a ground. We don't need anything. So I got enough to run 2 sets of this wire through conduit. Here we are on this. So we're just going to start feeding this through. So I got the single strand stuff, which is, instead of the multi-strand, which is easier to push through conduit, but it's a little harder to work with when you're, making connections and stuff like that at the end. But it's not a lot of wiring, so it's not a big deal. So when we're connecting it to there, it's gonna be a little harder, but it's easier to push through. So that's all we do. And as a reminder, again, that's our conduit. So I don't know if you're really newbie. I mean, I think most people doing this would know what conduit is, but you know, so you feed it through that. And I got, what is this, I think it's half inch, no 1 inch. Nope, yeah, it's half inch, Schedule 40. Above ground, underground. This stuff's like really cheap. It's like $1.50 a stick or something like that. I don't know why conduit's always so cheap and everything else is expensive. One of those weird things in the world. So there you go. So he was worried about getting that truck too close because these pads got to go down, and we're close to the hole over there. We're on some soft stuff, but his crane will just reach. So that's something to keep in mind. Get a nice landing pad, you know, a nice spot for them to get in. This stuff's a little too bumpy for them. I mean, it kind of works, but you know, make it nice and get some room here for those big old pads to go down. Okay, we decided to do this line a little bit curvy just for, yeah, it's like a hiking path, just make it kind of interesting. I'm just kidding, it's just kind of how it went. This part's sponsored by Bush Light Apple. Marcus, what's up?
Oh, I was wondering what you were saying.
We're doing a video here.
We're actually sponsored by Pulaski. That's the end. That's it.
What do you have to
Yeah.
say about this project?
It's a big project, and we're close, but it's worth it. It's worth it for hot water and cold water, and water in general.
Sip had to do the work.
Yeah.
Do a NASCAR sound.
Wait, do the fake fall.
Marcus, do a NASCAR sound in there. Marcus.
Okay, so I have to glue the riser on, and I need some cardboard to mix the glue. So watch what I'm going to do here. Hey guys, I got pizza!
Yay! 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 Blue mixed pizza.
Just kidding. Just a box. Just a box. They knew that. They already knew that.
If we didn't, that would be sad.
Okay. So this is a 2-part epoxy that they gave me at the same place, RC Worst. And just mix these two parts together. We're gonna mix it on that box. They gave me popsicle sticks with it. And just clean this edge. This is some concrete on there. I think that's okay. Just clean that edge, and then that's gonna stick right to it. You stick it to it, and they say about an hour. So we'll show you as soon as we do that.
Oh, it smells kind of good.
So it didn't really mix in the bag as well. It was, the two parts are supposed to mix together, but we're just gonna like kind of do this. So you can squish it all up there. Looks like a dessert.
Ready, can you go get me a popsicle stick over there? Whipped cream.
Looks like a chicken breast with flour. We're gonna deep fry the chicken. Okay, so we're just gonna put that on the lip. Don't fall in the hole. Oh, this seems dangerous. Hey, stay away from the hole.
This feels like a project.
So the glue's gonna hit right there, because this goes on the outside of it. And then, really important, you gotta make sure, okay, this is the end we're gluing, because there's, well, I guess you could always re-drill some holes, but see, we got our holes there all the way around for the lid. The lid's got these. So this comes with your lid. You can get your screws and a little Allen wrench.
Here's our chicken dinner.
Thomas, can I
Okay.
try?
So we're just kind of spreading it like that. Just goes on like cake frosting, basically.
Frosting on my birthday cake.
Okay. So that just fit on. Oh, I can't even turn it now. It's on there.
That's some good glue.
It just barely fit on. Make sure that's on tight. And there it is. It's waterproof. So if water hits right there, because this will be underground, so water will be sitting on this kind of underground, you know, and it won't go up and over. It'll be good. And then our dirt level will maybe sit there or there or something like that. We want about a foot over this for freezing. So where we live, want to make sure we have about a foot of dirt. So this is actually a 1 footer. So I mean, if we're 8 inches, we're probably still okay, but we'll try to get our dirt as high as possible. But you know, worst case scenario, we might just cut it down 1 or something like that. Okay, so I used some of this stuff. This is what held the 2 sections of the tank together, if you remember. And I gooped some of this. It's just like kind of gummy. It's goo. Sort of. I wedged it in there, but I just feel like it wasn't making a watertight seal. Because I saw online that there was some stuff you could get that was basically like this. So it's kind of like a gummy. So I figured that would work, but I'm not 100% sure. So I spent $8 and got this instead. It is, I looked up online, they said pure polyurethane is what you want. And this is for concrete, foundation, walls, and masonry. So I'm going to use this whole tube, and I'm just going to squirt it in there instead, and we'll see how that works. Okay, I got a little crazy with it, but I used the whole thing because I bought it, so might as well. I didn't have anything else to use it for. Cut that tip off really good. I did it like 3 times finally, and then just poke that thing like with a big old skewer or something, because it is like glue. It is thicker than, it's actually thicker than liquid nails. Like, it's glue. It is sticky stuff. I just went in and I used my hands and I just like packed it all in there and just got my hands sticky, and then you just have to use a rag, and soap and water does not get it off. You have to just wipe your hands with a rag. So okay, and then right below that hole, I'm just gonna drop some rocks in there, just some gravel, so it, you know, ideally I kind of would like to have dug that a little deeper so the water can go below that hole and settle. But I think with some rocks in there, it's not too far below the surface. We got an eave up there. It's not like a we got a little drainage that comes down, but we should be okay right here. Our biggest problem is actually more over there, and we got that sealed up really good. So this shouldn't be too much of a problem. Can always dig back down and refix it later if we have to. So we got our rocks in there. So I always do that when there's a pipe going in, or a troubled area where there's like a hole. We had a crack, like a hairline crack in the foundation wall, or was like a cold seam where they had gotten 2 parts together. And what you do is you just put rocks like right below that part, right at it and below. Not really any above it. I mean, it's like right at the hole. That one's sitting above it. But like, what you want to do is the water, you know, the water hits it, rushes down, and as soon as it hits that spot, you just want it to drop a ways below it, you know, a good chunk below it. Ideally, it's 6 inches or more. and it's called a French drain. And what it does then, it pools, and then you really have to have 6 inches of water, of rain, all sitting below the ground, which to seep that far is pretty rare. Then it just rushes through the rocks in it, and it bypasses that trouble area real quick, and then it pools down farther where it's safer, you know. So it's just it's a handy little thing, and it's amazing how well it works. So explaining that a little more. Okay, so here we are. So we got this, so I did my conduit. It's gonna run up the side. That's gonna get all buried. This is gonna be all buried. And I glued it, and yes, I used CPVC glue for conduit, which is not to code. But the thing with code is that, you know, that's not like it's going to fail, because you don't, I mean, technically you don't even need it glued. It's a friction fit, and water will drain out correctly. But, you know, the thing with code is that it's following code will make it 99.999% effective, and sometimes not following code could be something that's like 99.98%. Doesn't mean it's always going to fail, you know. So don't worry about it. Here's the other thing that's not to code, is conduit lines. Conduit lines need to be 1 foot, 2 feet, burial. This is a 1 foot riser. So my dirt, I'm going to try to get up close to the top there. So I'm going to have 9, 10 inches, maybe 8 inches. So this sucker is going to be about 6 inches under, and it's going to punch into the 3rd riser right there. So that's just going to be, this little section right here is just going to be a hair below ground. I'm not worried about it. It's right next to the riser. We're not digging around here. We're not, you know, again, doing it as a homeowner. So that kind of thing. You can kind of do it however it's safe and makes sense. And you can thrash me in the comments. That's fine. Whatever. But attaching this, I'm not sure about attaching this, how that's gonna be done. But I'm gonna, I think just with it burial, it's just gonna hold really nicely against there, and it can be loose, honestly, because this will actually attach. I'm gonna wait to put that last, you know, cut our last piece in here for this junction box, which is gonna go in the inside. That's gonna go in the inside. It's gonna punch through, and I'll show a picture of that, how that's gonna look. And then that seal's gonna go right through there. We have to cut a little of this ribbing out, just a tiny bit, a little bigger hole. And that is I wrote the size. It's a 1 9/16, which you can't find at any store anywhere. You just gotta buy it online. So I'm a couple days out on cutting that hole. This is 3/8 inch, and I'm doing 2 inches, just a little cheaper. There's no sense in doing 3/8 for this. So I got a little bushing that goes in here, you know, it just reduces it down. And that's gonna go through. This part's, you know, just a hair of that's gonna stick out right here, or there on the 3rd one. And the reason I can't do it lower, it would be nice to have it pop out like right here, you know, so that's gonna raise up. It'd be nice here, but there's like a lip down there, and it has to be above that lip. So it's supposed to be in the riser. It's not supposed to be down in the tank. So I'm gonna do it like that. We could turn it sideways, but that's kind of hokey. And then this is where the wiring is gonna come out for the float, right there when we're done. So so that's it for right now. It's getting dark towards the end of the day, so there's our line. I'm gonna go ahead and just put this lid on now. So we got that riser glued, so we just gotta match up these circles to the, there's one right there. And then we're just gonna use these, and I'll just pop like one of these in tight and a couple loose just for right now. Okay, we're gonna set this box in today. This is where all our connections and stuff go. We're gonna make a hole right through here. It needs to sit, it can't sit down below there. It has to sit up there. So, you know, just looking at it, when I sit it, I'm gonna set it sideways like that, and seeing right where that hits. Kind of got it measured. It's 1, 2, 3. It sits right about there. So I'm gonna make the hole right there. I also want some room. I might cut this down depending on where our dirt's gonna land. So I'm just gonna put it down as far as possible. Put it down here. You know, you can leave it way up here. I'm gonna tuck it down there just so we have that room. What is that, Alex? What's that? Oh, he's got a reindeer. All right. So I got this. I had to get it off Amazon. It is right up here. 1 9/16. They have nothing at Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, anywhere. Online order, special order. So I'm gonna try it with this. It's a, may not do it. I might have to bring out my big drill because this one's got the, what do you call it? Where it, I forget what that's called, you know, does that. So it might not drill a hole through there, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Yep, absolutely didn't fit in my impact. Impact! That was the word I was trying to think of. It didn't fit in there at all, in that bit. So, had to do this. Excellent drill from Harbor Freight. Just kidding, it's a piece of junk. And of course, had to do the whole. Now I had to go get the power, and it's always one thing after another with this. I just want to drink Oktoberfest. Is that so wrong? I mean, really? Okay, so we're gonna drill this hole. And of course, like everything with this project, nothing makes sense. So, what the heck? So we got to kind of do that. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. I'm gonna turn the video off and use 2 hands, and well, we'll see what happens. Yep. So there we are. It just skipped all over. So that's not gonna work. Everything with this project just seems very archaic and unscientific and backwards. I always feel like that whenever I'm doing concrete too. It's just like feels very like it hasn't changed since the medieval period. Anyway, we're gonna go with this. We're gonna cut these ribs out, and we're gonna make a nice spot, and then we're gonna drill that hole. So we'll see in a minute. Okay, there we go. It worked. We got that cleaned out. This is an awesome tool, by the way, if you don't have one. It's just from Harbor Freight or wherever. Just called a multi-purpose tool, and it just vibrates. I mean, you can almost touch it when it's running, and it yeah, it's just pretty awesome. Once you have it, you'll use it for everything. It's amazing how many different uses you can use it for. So I'm going to drill that hole. Okay, as soon as I turned it on, we broke the bit. This is how this project is going. Everything is backwards. Just snapped it right off. That was about 20 bucks from Amazon, so I will be returning that. We'll see if we can still get it to work, and then I'll just return it because it's broken. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about where to buy a bit. And that one I'm going to be a little stumped on. Okay, so I got that hole in and cleaned, and so you just kind of pinch this thing in, you know, wedge it. What's that? See how it has that kind of just has a lip on it, and it fits around the inside, outside. That should do it. And then we're going to put this box through. Okay, so let's just wedge. We're going to wedge this thing right in there. Okay, I got that wedged in there. And that was a super tight fit. Oh, it's just hitting the bottom. That was a super tight fit through the plastic against the rubber. It would not slide in there. So I went and did some dish soap. Just put a little bit of green, like, you know, dish soap on there. Dish soap works really well because it's slippery when it's wet, but then when it dries, it kind of gets sticky. Hairspray. Hairspray is actually the ultimate way. That's how you put bike grips on a handlebar on a bike. And because it dries nice and like a glue, but I just didn't feel like going upstairs, so I just did a little dish soap. I've done that a lot. A little dish soap when you're putting a tough screw in too, or a little just on a bar of soap. Soap does wonders. Okay, so let's see here. Oh yeah, oh my gosh. I was kind of worried because our hole, it skipped and it jumped down. It's supposed to be, if you can see, it's supposed to be right there. And it jumped down there, but it ended up being perfect. So I had to cut this out. It jumped down and over, so I ended up a little wider because that hole, because I busted the tip off that, it skipped when it moved. So our electrical is going to come out here to our float. We'll put the sealant on. I'm just going to leave these waterproof wire nuts in there, some instructions, and you know, yeah, see, it tells you exactly what to do. And then it doesn't work so well. So we're going to put this cap on because we're going to go to, this will be nice, we'll get our conduit in there, and then we'll put this lid on and put the lid back on here and kind of button this all up just for today. Okay, got that glued in there all nice. This is going to sit right here. I was a little close to there, but my pipe's going to come out. I just move it over, and pipe will come out and go there. This will all get buried, so this won't be loose. And the lower pipe, and all that's good. I could like brace it to this, you know, put it right there, and that might work, but you know, I'll think about doing that. Next step is to do this float. So this end is gonna go through there into this box. We're gonna wire nut it. We're gonna connect it to this wire. We'll be all set. And this hangs down. That just hangs down in the water. Now how this works is this. So this float works at a 45. If you can hear the ball in there. Okay, so the way this works is, get some undone. So 45 down, 45 up, right? So if this is attached to the wall, right there it just clicked, right there it just clicked. So we have this much water that's gonna go down to there and up to there. So it's gonna go that much. If we did it this short, it would go 45, you'd have that much, right? So the longer you do this, if you undo this thing, and we have it out about this long, it's gonna go from there to there, and we're gonna have like that much. If that makes sense. So you can adjust this any way you want, depending on the length, and that's your float. It's really that simple. It's actually super basic, and that's how it works. So the question then is, how do you attach? Oh, I just dropped that. All right, well, I'll use that. I'm not gonna use that as an example. I'm gonna have to go down and get that at some point. Okay, so this needs to be attached somewhere to our wall, you know, somewhere where you want this to go up and down. And it's gonna be down there somewhere. So the way you do it, this is what they told me at the company, is you take a long PVC pipe, like a white PVC pipe, one of those nice fat ones that are like this. And I was gonna show you the example of that, but there it is. And you go from the floor all the way up to, you know, the ceiling, which is here, see? You measure whatever that is, and then you cut it like a ½ inch longer so it kind of bows, you know, so you're kind of bending it to fit in there, and it's just friction fit, that's all it is. And that sucker sits in there from floor to ceiling, and you can do it like, actually right over there would be ideal, you know, and then you attach it like down here on the pipe or up here, wherever you want that. It really should be in the center, wherever, so say if this is your high-low, you know, and that's 2 feet, 3 feet, something like that, you'd want it attached like right there, you know, so it can do that. Your pivot needs to be in the center, so it's gonna be somewhere down near, almost near that seam or something like that. I'm not sure yet, so I'm gonna set that up when it's time, but I was just telling you ahead of time how that's gonna work. And you know, a lot of it's just gonna be experimenting with it and see how it goes and adjusting it a little bit. If you buy, I mean, they make things that are, I made just exactly for this, that attach to the wall and everything, and every little connector, each connector is like $12, and the pipe is like $36, and they were telling me that, and they're like, just you know, buy PVC, and literally like you can tape it to it, or you can like with electrical tape. I would tie a knot and like, you know, plumbers tape it like a metal strapping, you know, or something like that. I mean, eye hook through the pipe and then hook this part around the eye hook or whatever. I mean, you know, figure it out. You know, there's all different ways you can do it. So we're tightening this down so it goes to the float. We got all this in here. I just did a little extra electrical tape to hold that all together. A lot of extra wire. I couldn't pull it through anymore from the laundry room, so we got the room, got extra wire. Never know if you need it. And you know, we'll put this on a pipe for right now. We're just gonna, let's let it hang, I guess. And kind of all set. I'm gonna attach it to a pipe. You know, we'll attach it somewhere down there. I'm gonna put this lid on and call it a day. That's it. I'm down here and I got this pipe in here. So it's a little bit wiggly, but you know, again, it's friction fit up there. It's pretty tight, so it's not gonna go anywhere. So that was a good way to do it. And I used some plumber's tape there. I drilled a hole through here. I just put a nice, you know, short little one through there and wedged that. So, I mean, if I pull on it, it's not really gonna go anywhere. Okay, so we're at this point, and we're gonna figure this out. So we have our main water coming in, and it hits the pressure tank, and then it goes on onto the house. So from there, through the pressure tank, this is the pressure switch. It tells it when to kick on and off, and it goes into the house. And the pressure switch tells the pump when to kick on and off. But this is powered by, we have our service panel over here, well pump. Now, that runs through the wall before we drywalled this. That's for our hot water heater here, so ignore that. So it runs through the wall, comes to here, not this is new, comes to here, comes out, and it goes to what used to do just to that one. They moved this, and then now they do both. So they jumped it, basically goes through this, through that. So this is all the stuff that powers the well pump outside. So this is coming in, you know, our main power is coming in through the wall, somewhere way down here. Goes to the service panel. Obviously it has to go through that first, loops back, comes into here, and then from there it goes back out. You know, the hole is way farther down. I mean, it's really buried, and it goes all the way out to our pump. And we found that line. We found our main, remember, with the backhoe, but we also found that flat, it's like that flat wire, so that goes back out. So what we're doing here is we're breaking a leg, a hot, you know. So you take your press, you know, I'm guessing it's like a black or a red, right? And just one of them, as it's coming through, before it goes back out, so it's coming from here into this box, up into here, and one leg, so just think of a light switch. It's going down to the pressure switch, and that clicks it on or off, and it continues that circuit back into here, back out to here, and then that way towards the all the way outside to the well, to the pump. So now here's the difference: is when you know, and that's basically saying, hey, we're out of pressure, so let's turn on the pump. So the difference is when we're out of pressure, we don't want the pump to turn on anymore. We want the pump to turn on when the holding tank is low. Now this is our new wire. We haven't cut it yet. We haven't hooked it up to anything that's going out there that's going to go to our float. So this needs to tell it when to turn on and off. So basically this whole piece here, you know, just figure we're just going to cut it right there and just make it just go like, you know, right into the top of this. That's going to come into the back, and we're going to hook this wire right here, just wire nut it into this. So basically, you know, power comes in to this, back out of here, going to either of these, whatever that does. You know, it's two boxes. They set that up, so you may have one or two. It comes out of here. It goes all the way out to the float. The float says, oh, our water level's low. Then it goes back up. We're high enough, you know, low, let's turn it on. High enough, we're good, let's shut it off. And that connects to from here, goes back out to our pump, right? So what are we left with that when the pressure is low in the house and we need to get more water pushed into this pressure tank? We're not going to use that. So we're going to put our jet pump here, and it's going to sit about like this big. It's just looks like a big sump pump, if you've seen that, probably from about here to the wall. And I mean, I have it up in the shop right now, so we're going to be putting that in. And that has its own pressure switch on it. So we're just going to abandon this whole line. And the only thing is we need power to get to that pump. So that pump just needs power run into it. So we're going to put what you can do here, I was going to show you this. So we've put in some of these split, and you can double up your space by doing that. So, you know, you can do it with double pole. These are single pole. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, we need to free up another breaker, because we need its own breaker for that jet pump. And then I'm going to pull this all off. We can kind of get into the wall, and I'm just going to fish some wire. I don't know if I can make it around the corners. What I'll probably do is just do a box up here next to this, maybe, you know, whatever, probably right here. And I've done this wrong. I need to I've still never done this like 16 years later. I'm going to put a nice box up here while I'm doing this, get this thing done. Just disconnect it as my hot water heater. So I'm going to put one next to here. It'll just run down. It's fine that it's exposed. It's conduit. And I mean, I guess it's going to be this stuff, the fatter. I'm not 100% sure. We'll probably just run it like right behind here or right between these two, and just run it down to where this jet pump's going to be. And basically it's just going to run power to it. There's no leg coming up in and out because there is no switch. The jet pump doesn't need a switch because it's got its own switch on it. Whereas this was telling the pump to kick on and off. Now we're using the floats to tell the pump to kick on and off. So all the jet pump down here is going to do is it's just going to just turn on and off and just pressurize. It's going to suck from the holding tank, and it's just going to push against this tank and help, you know, get water in this tank to pressurize when the gauge says it's low enough and it needs more. So that's kind of our setup here and what we got going on. So I built a nice little, basically a stool for that thing. I'm just gonna sit back there, and to do a little funky because of how that fits, because I want it to sit up like this. So it's just gonna sit right back there like that, and you know, you can move this around a little if needed. And these are this is the board that actually came with it shipped. So these are the holes. What I did was I made sure where these holes are, that there is, you know, nice solid piece of wood under there, and drilled holes through, and then I'm going to do bolts. I'm going to bolt that whole thing on. So this sucker goes right on there. The bolts go right through nicely. And I just put this little extra piece in here because that hangs over a little bit, just to give it something to sit on. So I ran that conduit. That's the piece of conduit that runs right through the concrete all the way through. I just poked it right through and did it like that. I don't know, probably not to code. Don't bash me too much in the comments. Anyway, this is the one that goes all the way to the very end to the float. So what we're gonna do instead is right here where this is coming down, we're basically just gonna, like, you know, snip it here and go like loop it up to one of these holes right here and connect that. So basically it's just that's gonna connect right there. So the float will tell this to kick on and off, and this is its own system. And then again, we needed power going down there to this thing. Its own power, because it has to be run by power. So this is gonna get disconnected, but it has to have good power. So that's what I did up here. So I ran, you know, I now have this new jet pump. So I had to split this. You can take a 20. So here's a normal 20. You can get a half and half one, you know, like that, and save the space. I mean, eventually you run out of room. You can't do that, you know, fill your entire thing. There's just not room. And I ran it through the wall, and I was gonna try to get over there. I was having I was like 6 inches, a foot short to work with. So I just pulled the hot water heater anyway, was running. This one was running way up there, so we'll just patch that or put a picture up or something. And I did a nice box, and so hot water heater, it's sharing that now. That's coming in. This thing, so here's my new one that I just ran. Fuse is off. This is it. And this is gonna connect. I'm gonna connect that in a second here. And just wiring on all that together. I'm gonna wire nut the hot water heater together, which is off right now. And that runs around here. I just have it hanging right here right now, because when I put that in, I'm gonna wait and the pump company is gonna come in and just, you can see it now. We're gonna take that, it basically kind of goes up, down. I think we're just gonna disconnect it there and just run a, you know, somehow either pull that up or run that up, and it's basically just gonna sit like right here and then just come straight into the end of the pump, which is right there. So this is the direction it's gonna face. So that main right there, that main water, there we go. Instead of it coming like that, we're gonna just try to pull that up and see if we can just pull it right in. Right there, right? And then this is where it comes out. So I'm just gonna go up, out, down. So it'll go up, out, down, and it'll connect in right there where it's connecting now. And then it'll loop it through to the house. So we just need to, basically the water's just coming into the pressure tank now. We just need to loop it in to this, to the jet pump. And that's the system. That's pretty much it. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tap into this line. I'm gonna cut in now. I'm gonna use one of these multi-tools, which are amazing. Instead of a Sawzall, I got the pipes measured, ready to go. I'm gonna hook them in here. And then I'll show you this in a second. I'm just gonna tie the two together in the inside for now, because I got the pump company coming out to do all the inside, the final inside work. So we just need to make a loop through our system. So we're not gonna be using the tank. We're just gonna, pipe's gonna go, I just got some white PVC and I'm just gonna glue it and cut it back out when I'm done and kind of waste it. But you know, for a week until they come out, we're done. Okay, got it cut. And by the way, I shut off the water and I drained the water so there's no pressure in the house. It's at 0 on the tank. And about that much came out. It's just the, you know, what's going uphill to the head there. Just some little gap there so I have some room to work to put the elbows in. The way these things go on is, see there's like threads there and then there's the barbed parts there that eventually catch the pipe. So they're made to actually just twist on it, and it's because anything over, looks like over an inch, I think 1.25 inches, when it gets to that, it's just so hard to just push straight on. So, because there's no flex, and you can put some heat on, use like a hairdryer or a heat gun or something. Be careful of a heat gun, you don't melt it. But basically you just start these and you just start twisting them, you tap them in and twist them. Of course you put your clamps on first. I already tightened this one down just a little bit snug, just to remind me, so when I put it on, once you put the thing on, you got to pull it back off to put the, well, I guess you could undo these all the way and wrap them around, maybe, I'm not sure if you can, but don't forget your clamps. Stainless steel, because it's underground. Stainless steel will never go bad underground. I got it in place like that. Now one quick tip, I may or may not do this. Those things, I mean, to bend those straight are pretty hard. You can kind of bend it around a corner like this when it's pretty long. To get those in there to twist them, I'm not sure how that's going to work. So what I might do is just cut off a piece like this long, you know, 2 feet, 3 feet, and just work with that, and then just join it to longer ones. Okay, here we are. Yes, I did end up having to cut those just so I could work with it. And we got the clamps, got everything on here. Just make sure, obviously, your one going from your well in is going there, and out back to the house is going, you know, on the right one, so right and left, if you flip those. There's a little extra thing, so I'm not ready to turn on the water yet on the system to have this filled, so I just did some temporary, I cut that, in order to put that piece together, you would use a union there, but I just glued it, so it's a tiny bit short, so I just did that for now. This is going to sit for a week or so before the pump guys come out, the well guys come out and do all the stuff inside. Just so basically our water's going to, just so we can start backfilling this because it's starting to get cold. So our water's going to come in here, go out, and just, it's basically just like it's just going across there, but it's just looping through the tank without filling the tank. So it's just kind of a little trick for now. It was about 10 bucks worth of plain old PVC and glue and stuff. So, you know, just kind of bypass that for now. You ready for this? Here's what we did late last night, and I didn't even video it because it was dark. We said screw it to all the black poly pipe and barbed fittings, because those, I went and turned on the water and every single one leaked. So, not doing that again. I told you at the beginning I would tell you everything that went wrong and learn from our lessons. Now, we do have to have barbed fittings here. So we're getting about a drip a second there and there. This side won't be pressurized. This one isn't as bad, it won't be pressurized. I'm going to try to change it out anyway. But I want to do this one first, because this one for sure has the line coming in where it's going to be pressurized from the pressure tank with the backflow valve in the tank. This is just shooting from the well into the tank. This is just regular PVC, and we're, you know, far enough below ground, plenty far below ground, even in a northern climate, to be fine with that. So I just used glue, so much better. And I'm gonna change those out. So I'm gonna use these instead, because I was reading online and everyone says don't use the plastic ones. I wish I would have known that. So now you know, use metal. These are about $8 a pop, at least at Ace, which is overpriced. But it's the only one in my town. I didn't feel like driving. I went to Home Depot 4 times yesterday. The other thing is you are supposed to do them like this. So when you put it on, obviously it's gonna be over that part, but you know what I mean? You want one facing one way and one facing the other way so that they're the same direction. If you're working in a hole like me, you can put one on the top, one on the bottom, or, you know, kind of whatever. But they're not supposed to both be the same way. I did that wrong. I only put one clamp on all of them, and then when I put 2 on, I did it the same way. You're supposed to do it this way. If you ruin one, just get a new one, because you can strip these. Once you break one of these teeth, it's kind of useless. Because it's only really catching like one at a time on that little screw thing, mostly. And then heat it up. So they say using a blowtorch. You can read some stuff online about that, but heat it up with a blowtorch. Careful not to melt the pipe. Just get it nice and warm. You can use a heat gun. Just kind of touch it, cool it away. When the pipe gets a little shiny is kind of when you know, they say. So I'm going to try that out, and you should be able to just push those fittings right on instead of screwing them on like we were doing before. So I'm going to shut off the water, and we're going to give this a try. Well, that did it. no drips. So those metal barbed inserts, and then heating it up with a blowtorch. And I should have gotten a video of doing it, but you can look it up online. I mean, it's just like it's going. I mean, had the flame right on it for a solid minute or two, and it even like there's little like parts that are heating up and with little sparks and stuff, but it does not melt the pipe at all. So it is like kind of indestructible. You can't really overheat it, seems like. Well, the weld guy is here, and we are having a heck of a time trying to get that undone. So that's where we're at right now. We're going to go ahead and put this piece in, that pump in, and do that part next. And it's pouring rain outside, buckets of rain. We got to go outside next, so this is going to be really fun. This means you don't have to go run to Home Depot, ever. So we had United Pump Company came out, and he put some all new fittings on and reran the pulley again. So we did that. And these suckers are serious. Then we taped them. So these are called pack joints. I would recommend doing those. Definitely. So they go on the outside. There's this little insert fitting that's smooth that you blowtorch and then you pound it in really easily. It's like not barbed. And then this thing just goes over, and then it's flanged at the end of the insert. It's a tiny little, like almost like a little cup, and then this goes on and it grabs it. So it's an outside fitting, way better. You see how like this bend and everything? He just heated that whole pipe up like a ton, and you use two people, and you just move it however you want. So that was way better. We did everything in poly. I'm standing up here on the tank because it's really muddy, and I got to run to Home Depot for some. I'm gonna put, it's like a swimming pool noodle, like a foam thing, you know. And I'm gonna wrap foam around that all the way down into here, because this does come up high on the tank. So they were saying normally the in and out are both at the bottom. It's just the guy was saying that it's good the in coming in the top, because if you have a lot of rust, it doesn't settle. But then I'm not putting a ton of dirt on here too, so that's pretty high. So that might be a problem. I might need to do some heat tape at some point. So ideally we would have wanted to put that hole down farther. You can always re-drill it and core it and put a plug in on down the road. If we ever wanted to do that, we could do that. If we ran into a problem, it would be a kind of a pain, but we just dig a hole, work in there. It's not like working down in there. And that's what we got. So that's what we're doing today. And then we are, whoop, I just tripped. And then we are backfilling this whole thing. So we can't fill this with water yet before we put dirt around it. And we haven't fully flipped the system over to, everything's in place, but the water is just running through the jet pump in the basement right now without the jet pump being on and working, because I still have the pipes connected together right there. So the tank is not filling with water yet. We're not doing that yet. So we're still bypassing that. So we just did a quick shop vac of this. You just start in the back corner, which was clean. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of leave that. Your water's coming from the ground, and you probably have a filter inside after all. And I put an extra pipe here. I just strengthened it up, set my float. So again, it floats up and down horizontal. As soon as it hits this, it can't. It's, stops it. So then it hangs and the ball goes. So horizontal is never on or off. It's always what it was last. So see, now it's on, and it can stay horizontal and stay on. Off, it can stay horizontal and stay off, right? So it gets up to the top. Let's see if I can show this. And it pulls on it, so then it turns. It's right up there by that. All right, so I just zip tied the heck out of that. It's nice and strong. It's not gonna go anywhere. So I'm gonna cut into this. We're gonna put that foot valve on here. Get all this out of here, start filling with water. Okay, we just tested the float, and we went with two phones inside on speakerphone, and my son flipped this up and down, and it turned the well pump up there, but you could hear it clicking where the pump tech is inside. You could hear it clicking on and off. So down is on because it needs to be filling, and then as soon as he lifted that thing up and just turned it up like that, it clicked it off. So it totally worked. I am very surprised with how this project has been going, that it worked that well. So I'm very happy. We're gonna cut into that now and start this. And our neighbor was good enough to, look at that. He's gonna give us all his water because he's got a huge, awesome well. So we are going to fill this with our neighbor's water just to get it going quick so we don't have to try to do it on our wimpy well. All right, here we go, moment of truth. See it spraying out. I just drilled a quick hole. Not that big. Just to relieve the pressure so I'm not cutting into it and it's, you know, bursting everywhere. Then I gotta, oh, there it goes, cool. So I don't have to stand in it. Might be able to get to that dry spot. We are slightly, if you remember, we are slightly downhill on this tank, just like an inch total, or 2 inch maybe at the end from the top. So works a little in our favor there, you know, for cleaning and stuff like that. So like in this case. So here we go. I'm just gonna get down there and cut this whole pipe apart. I cut the lower one off, and we're gonna put this on. Remember to pipe tape it because it's going metal to metal. Not a huge deal, but actually, yeah, because you get air in there. I mean, drips, it's not a big deal. It's just gonna drip into the tank or into the ground, but you don't want that, so we want it nice and sealed. This one I left like that. I don't know, I guess. We can always just cut it back there, but why not? Probably makes sense. Maybe that's wrong, but I'm just gonna do it like that. Is it dirty?
Pretty dirty.
Yeah, but it's like peeing in a lake. You got just quantity on your side, you know.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Now, if you pinch the hose, what you're gonna get? It's called a kink.
Okay, I read the instructions and it said that that foot valve is supposed to be pointing down, and then our valve is too close to the bottom. So I had to do, if you can see it in the video, I had to do that. Make it down, up. Stupid. Anyway, it just has to be sitting vertical. So it's just a hair above the water right now. So there we go. My son's just turned on the water. Okay, cool.
Okay, so here we are. We got everything hooked up. So here's what we got going on. Gonna hit the jet pump. We got lights flashing. That thing is humming. That thing smells like it's on fire. So I've checked the polarity is correct on there. We have the voltage set, so you can pull the end of this off. That sucker's hot to the touch. Okay, so that's burning up. That's filled with water. If we open this, it'll spray out, you know. We got the voltage set correctly in the end of this. You pull that out and there's a switch. So I just spent an hour or two on YouTube, and guess what I found? Nothing. Zero. There's nothing that will say what that symptom is. So, because it's sounding like it's air, it's bouncing around. I bleeded the system. There's just nothing. There's no support. So this project, I'm just going to tell you again. If you do this project, you have zero support. You hire this out, or you have my YouTube video. And that is it. There is no support on the face of this earth for this project that exists, other than having a professional come in and do it, because I am stumped at this point. We'll see if we can figure out what this is. So that's where we're at now. So here's what we ended up doing.
So this is just bouncing back and forth. It's basically, I think what it's doing is it's just bouncing up and it's hitting 50 and it's bouncing back. And so the guy at the pump company said this happens often when the pressure switch is attached to the pump. So he said it's a really, really common thing when you're next to your pressure tank. So it's just weird that they put that on a pump like that instead of having it more standalone. Just is what it is. So we're going to bypass this and we're just going to basically make power come in. We're not going to use this pressure switch at all. So what I did was to bypass it, I just screwed that way in and that one way in. This adjusts your range. So 40, 60, if you screw it in, every 3 turns is like 10 PSI. So it'll go up to, if you screw it in, which is down, tighter, it'll go 40, 60 up to, if it's like 30, 50, it'll go up to 40, 60. So what I did was I moved it up to like 50, 70, something way out of the way. And then this is your high limit. It does just your high one. And that one is like, one full turn is like almost 10 PSI. So I turned that around like twice just to get the high way up there. So it basically will never, this wouldn't shut off. It would almost blow this tank, blow that little safety down there before it hit the high limit. So there's no more high limit on here. We're just going to let that run. And so I clicked it on and it worked. And I just watched it, and it's down now, but I watched it to get it up to, up to 50, and then we had some water coming out the faucets, and so everything's going. Okay, so it stayed running. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go back and just use this switch and this gauge. So I'm going to make the power coming in that was running to this. Instead, it's right there. I'm just going to, it's this one. I just unhooked it, and we're going to hook that into there, to that switch. And then that will tell it when to go on and off based on that gauge, which is just, so it's the pressure of that. So we're not using the pressure here, we're using the pressure here. Then I'm going to jump a wire over from that to this to power on. So that's why this has to be kind of dummy proof. This has to be set really high. So this never triggers. So this whole thing we're not even using. In fact, what I could do is I could just pull these off. I might just actually do that. Just pull these off and just wire them together, wire that in and just wire it to it. That's actually, as I'm thinking about it right now, that's a better way. Just bypass this whole switch. But I kind of, screwed that in to test it. And so that's going to be our pressure switch back on our old one that we've always used that we know is set right and good. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so we got it hooked up. So we got basement jet pump through the wall to that. Down through this thing, coils around. I'll clean all this up later. Going into there. And each of those have an in and out on both sides. Goes out there, to the wall, to here. So on each of these, when I hooked them up, there was always black on the left, white on the right. And it looks like this is a pair and that's a pair. So if you need, here's black wire, white wire, and then that goes into there and that one goes into there. So you use your insides to go to this. The outsides are going, hitting your line. So same kind of thing here when I jumped it. It's hard to see. I think I got it before, but I think you can see it in there. I use my insides to continue down the line and my outsides, so you can see the white on the right side there. The one on the outside is the one coming in from the power, and the one on the inside goes back out the line to here. So I'm gonna flip this switch. We're gonna try it. I'm a little bit nervous. So I had one nice big boom earlier on this project when I wired that thing wrong. So we're gonna try it out. So it worked, sort of. It went, and then it starts doing its thing again in a little bit. There we go. Yeah. That sucker's sitting at 30. So, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna skip this pressure switch, and we're just gonna jump these wires together and just bypass that switch, I think is what we're gonna try doing next. See how that works. I wired these together. I didn't cut them short enough yet. See, there's a little copper sticking out. That's bad. We don't want that. So this is just temporary, just to hold it. I'll pack it all in. I'll snip them off right, rewire them, tape them, do all that nice. We just want to see if this works. I want to leave it a little bit longer in case it doesn't work and I did it wrong and we still have to loop it back around there. I don't know. I did snip those clips off on the ends of those, but I guess you could still wrap it around there if we needed to. So I always feel like I need to jump back. There we go. Look at that. Is that working? It might be working. We're gonna check this, see if it clicks off at 60 on there. I'll get back to you. So that thing's sitting at 60, and this is just climbing up slowly from 40. So I guess that's normal. Yeah, it's about 50, almost 50 now. This just sits at 60. So probably just because this is active and it's churning and it's moving, and down there is the pressure tank, which is more static. So I'm guessing that's normal. I'm gonna double check. I mean, it's pushing. I don't know, it makes me nervous. But keeping an eye on this down here, I'm gonna pump this up. So we have a pretty big problem here. I mean, I guess it's fixable, but it looks like our foot valve in the tank is stuck open. So it's not working. So when we turn this off, it's supposed to push the water back. All this pressure in the tank pushes all the pipes, and it also pushes through that back into the tank. And then the valve, it pushes on it, and it right now it's open, and then it goes and it closes and it holds it. So it's stuck open. Because as soon as we turn this off, I mean, there's water rushing through this. It's going basically, it's just going back out, just going out to the tank. And our, you see our pressure just dropping. It just dropped all the way to 0. So my solution, just to get some water for tonight until I can dig back in there, I'm going to go buy some hip waders and just get in that water tomorrow and replace that valve and just go return it. Unless we have it sized wrong or something like that, I'm just going to fire that up and then just shut that valve off so we have some pressure in the house to flush a few toilets and stuff like that. We've been living for days without water. At this point, I'm kind of, again, not sure I ever would have tackled this project. I don't think I would have had it hired out to do. It's just not worth the money to do this. I feel like at this point, the benefit we're getting from it is we really wanted 3 benefits of this project, and we ended up with 1. So, you know, our well still kicks on and off constantly. Just didn't really end up working the way we wanted it to. So that's that. That's this project. So we figured out what our problem is. All the water was rushing back into the house. I went and bought another one of these for 60 bucks. So this is what I'm doing. It's November 1st. And shout out to Big 5 Sports for $18. These are rated very low on their website, and I'm looking like these are pretty good quality to me. I'm pretty happy. I have them on backwards. Look at that. Whoops. Okay, so I'm getting in. I'm in short sleeves. And I got to get in there if I don't drop my phone. And I'm going to take that thing off. And we're going to put it straight into the wall because even though Flowmatic says never do that and avoids the warranty, United Pump Company and RC Worst both said that they have never put it in facing down unless it's down in a well. They said in every holding tank it goes in horizontally. So we're going to try that. And there you go. Okay, I'm all done. Take those off, hang them up. Guess what I figured out was the glue joint came undone in that over, up, down, over, down, that drop. It had dropped the whole check valve. I had no check valve. So the valve was good. It came unglued. So I think I just dry fit that one and never glued it. So I couldn't re-glue under there, so I just screwed it right into the wall and got the old one back in. We'll test it with the old one. I'm gonna keep these handy just in case. Okay, it's definitely working. We're at almost 60 and we shut it off and it stopped. The check valve worked. So this is about how loud it is. It's like not as loud as a vacuum, a little more than a ceiling fan, like a bathroom fan. Not too bad, so it's working. All right, success. Everything is, whoa, that's yellow. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so our pump, our well is doing that on and off here a little bit. Yeah, so that's what it looks like going in. And our float is down. See how it's pointing down? I don't know if you can see that. So it's got to go all the way back up, a ways up to turn off. And everything's done with this project, pretty much done. I just got cleanup and dirt, everything. I just got so much left to do. So pretty well done. I'm gonna adjust the 40-60 inside because that was doing something funky, but we'll do that next, and then this is pretty well done. It's fall, spring and fall, so our water comes out. All of a sudden it'll hit a yellow patch like that. That was cool. You could see that. I'm not cool, uncool, but you got to see that. Because wells will do that. You usually don't get to see it coming out like that. I don't know if I needed a longer down tube where it should be hitting the water, so it's not like splashing, but I don't know. I don't know if that's okay. But anyway, there we go. So I took that part off, the gravity feed part off, and put a valve in that. Now, there is no gravity feed. What we were doing before was coming out when we turned this on because it was just flowing down out of the tank. But now we have that valve in it, that check valve, or foot valve they call it in the tank. So it's 19 psi. There's no way there's enough gravity in the tank to do 19 psi to kick this way. So if our power goes out, we do not have a solution other than dropping a bucket in the tank, which is a little bit of a bummer. But there is a way you can do in the tank. You can actually put in a curb valve, and I'll draw out a picture of that. And then you can use one of those big irrigation tees to go down to turn to bypass it, and we'll draw that out. But so for right now, this is that. We're sitting a little below 50, so this is going to kick on a little bit. I got that adjusted a little bit, and so basically power's off right now until it gets below 40, and then I'm going to turn it on and check it again. I just unscrewed that one a little bit to bring the range down. I don't know why it wasn't kicking off at 60. Maybe I had that set higher and going up to like 65 or 70, which is way too much for our plumbing. But, I mean, this is our old pressure switch on our blue tank that we were using before. And then I took the high down a little bit too. So, which is unscrewing to make it lower, you know. We'll see how that does. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Got a wrench all ready to go. So I think we're pretty well set there. And I think our system's pretty well done and ready to go. So one thing to note is we did end up putting that contactor in there in this box. There is one in this box, and what it used to do was the power would come into this box, and I think it bounced up to there first, then it came back to this, then it looped around, and remember it went to that the contactor, and it went down to the pressure tank to read that. We don't need that anymore because we're going out to the float outside, which is in that box and pointing straight out. So they brought the power in, and he flip-flopped it because he said the guy goes, I like setting it up this way where the pump tech is first. So we made the power go like this, through here, back. He rewired it, kind of saying like one of his guys did it one way, he does it another way. And then he jumps it up to the contactor, which goes in here all the way out to the holding tank. You know, at that low amperage line, so it trips. You know, all right. It's a switch. It's a low amperage switch, and he put it in there. So he showed me that every one of these boxes, if you have a box like this, every one has a spot for a contactor to go exactly in there like that. He said there's an empty spot always for a contactor. There's one in this one. I just didn't open it, but it's sitting in there, and it's dummied now. And then he wired it like this. Okay, here it is up close. So the two power wires are coming in from there. Line 1, red. Line 2, black. So line 1, red, left on the bottom. And then these two are the float right there that are going into the wall. So going into there, and it's going outside all the way to the holding tank. So this one in the back, right back here, jumpers down to the side. And this one is a ground. Just like that. So that is not how the guy at RC Worst drew it. He had the two side ones jumpered. Did not do it like that, but this shows the setup there. I have no idea how the two boxes work together. That stuff is beyond what I'm capable of. But that shows you that the thingy there.